Good morning, class. I am C.S. Nair. I welcome you all to today's second part of the poem A Thing of Beauty. Yesterday, we stopped at the end of first 12 lines, and today we are going to continue from there. The last statement that we heard from the poet was that even though we face a lot of depressions, disappointments, and failures in our lives. Even then, we don't go deep into depression because we have beautiful things around us and they will come to our assistance in rescuing us from our despondency, that is, helplessness and hopelessness. There are objects which the poet is going to mention now which are always handy and available to us just around us, provided by nature, such as the sun, the moon, trees, old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. The objects that you find around us are all natural things. They are all for the asking. It doesn't cost you anything at all. They will come to remove the darkness from your souls. Which are they? The sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. Simple sheep, innocent, helpless people, also animals. They get a shady boon, a blessing, shady from the hot sun. They will get some kind of relief if they go and stand under those trees. And again, natural things like daffodils. And such are daffodils with the green world they live in. Daffodils personified here, they live in a green world of their own. See their color green, very soothing and full of life. And also, we can come across clear rills. Rills are small streams. How beautiful an image is created here. You see that? Because the rills, small streams flowing through a forest full of greenery. What a beautiful scene. And they are themselves a cooling cover to make against the hot season, especially in summertime. You will see what a marvelous way they control the heat. They provide you cool atmosphere. Beautiful. Everything is for you for asking. And also you can find the mid-forest break rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. There is mild forest break. Break is also a kind of small uh, ferns like green they are, but bushy. You will find them growing wildly in the forest. And right in the middle of it all, you will find a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. A sprinkling. A little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. Musk rose, which gives out good scent. They are plenty available there in full blooms. And again, we have something such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. Whatever imagination we had for the dead and gone, grand people, grandeur, the majesticity of our old people, whether they were farmers or soldiers or kings or administrators, they were all great achievers, well respected in the society. And we have a lot of stories about them. They are dead and gone today, but their stories are still alive with us, alive. All lovely tales. You can read about them in the books. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, not only about the old people, grand people, the majesty of our old ancestors, even many other lovely tales we can read in the news in the books. And endless fountain of immortal brink. This is all these things which the poet had mentioned here, they are all coming down from heaven's brink means edges. It is an immortal drink, means something which we can enjoy throughout our life. They are immortal because they never die, they have no end. It is an endless fountain, a fountain which pours out, pours out, pours out beautiful liquid, and you drink it, and you have the whole joy of living on this earth. It is coming from heaven's brink. The God Himself is pouring out from the heavens. So, the imagination, which is very typical of romantic poets, is very, very, very impressive and effective. Look here, John Keats, a well known romantic poet, how he has written this poem. He wrote this poem in such a way that emotions, feelings, and all kind of internal factors, whatever we undergo, are put in words here, or they are inspired. So it is not much for our mind to think about. It is for our heart to feel. So, my children, this is the last line which I explained to you here, and we have plenty of time. Let me explain to you a little about the poetic devices used here, like they are rhyming couplets. The rhyming goes A, B, B, C, C, like that throughout the poem. The poem is written in iambic pentameter. Alliterations are used, and we have here a lot of metaphor. I told you, metaphor is used quite a lot, and also we have when we come here and pouring into the heavens train and nothingness. Also, images. Excuse me. A lot of images are created here, verbal images, which you can visualize in your mind. And most of the things that mentioned here are natural things, quite natural. And if he had wandered out of that area, immediately he has come to your heart to think. You have to think. It has to come into your heart. So here you may see, don't get confused with heart and mind. Mind has a job only to think, think. Mind will think thoughts. That's all what mind will do. But heart is the thing that feels. All emotions come from heart. So that is where the romantic poets always work. That is why it is a very different type of writing. Romanticism is a different type of moment. It is still used. It is really a little difficult to handle it, but still there are poets who prefer to write in romantic style. Mostly they follow iambic pentameter. Okay, children, this is all what I have to tell you about a thing of beauty. And as I told you before, the question and answers for all the poems will come in one video very soon. The sooner I finish the next poem, I will start doing it for you. So that's all I have to take today for, and I wish you good luck. Please study carefully and go to the subscription column, but push the button there and also for notification, etc. And I wish you good luck.